This is a deputy who decided, according to the report, this deputy sheriff decided to rape an inmate during transport. This deputy is out of Oklahoma. His name is David Wayne Loman, 58 years of age, was charged with a sexual battery, forcible sodomy, and engaging in a pattern of offenses against a female inmate. Let me give you the background to this. On April 12th, 2022, the Canadian County Sheriff's Office requested state investigators after allegations of sexual assault by a female who was being transported by Loman. They requested an investigation. The unnamed inmate said that on April 7th, she was assaulted 3 times at 3 different locations, according to the Bureau. Now, this is probably not his only time doing this. So this deputy was on transport assignment. All right, this is typically part of his job. And on this assignment, he transports female inmates. He transported a female inmate. The Canadian authorities hear her story and they decide to ask for an investigation into the allegations, right? The investigators looked into the claims and arrested Loman last week. He was booked in jail. His bail was set at $25,000. Once again, corruption permeating through the culture of law enforcement. And because this country has a rape culture, listen, we know this. Probably much won't happen to him. He needs to go to jail for the rest of his natural life, in my humble opinion. But they will figure out a way because he is actually a post-certified officer, which means he was supposed to be charged with violation of oath of office. Remember the rule, and I've told you this for a while. If you do not see them being charged with violation of oath of office, when that charge is not on the docket, the fix is in. There are 2 fixes typically when they do not charge with the oath violation. One fix is the plea deal. The second fix is for them to drop the more serious charges and they will allow the perpetrator to go to court on the less serious charges or perhaps get those charges dead docked, which means in effect, these charges become null and void if the officer does not engage in this conduct in the future. I've seen it done routinely. That's why a lot of people don't like the police. It's not because corruption exists. Corruption exists on some level in every industry. It's because these corrupt actors tend to get away with it, but not at Indisputable. All right, Farron, thoughts here.
You know, this unfortunately is far too common, especially with female inmates. Yeah. You know, we see the levels of abuse, the levels of, sexual assault that they suffer at the hands of both, male and female guards at some points. But this is just a further indictment of that. We do such a poor job actually taking care of and looking after people that are in custody that things like this are able to happen. And it's almost as if the system is designed that way, right? Once you get taken into custody, there's a couple cameras here and there, but those cameras are not for the inmate's protection. Those cameras are basically to just make sure you don't run away. When the bad things happen, there's no cameras. There's rarely cameras in that instance. And if you're transporting prisoners, there ought to be cameras all over that bus, not to protect the driver, but to protect these inmates from incidents like this happening. Same thing with the prisons. Every step along the way, we need accountability. We need video evidence. And it almost, when you look at something like this, okay, then what needs to happen is we need to have, not another officer in these transports. We need to have a lawyer. We need to have a lawyer not connected, to the police. So I'm not talking about a state prosecutor that works with these guys every day. I'm talking about go out there, find some lawyers who are willing to donate their time to act as chaperones, essentially, to make sure things like this do not happen in the future, because this is just one that we know of. And if people think this is the only time this has ever happened during a transport, you are kidding yourselves. Because for every story we hear about, there's dozens that we'll never know about.
You hit on something really, really key. And I would like to echo that sentiment that we need greater transparency. Having cameras is one thing, but there are citizen advocacy groups that would be willing to become accountability partners with law enforcement, get trained. You can even deputize them under certain rules of the sheriff in that particular jurisdiction. But obviously, we cannot act as if individuals who are going through a temporary period of incarceration that somehow their humanity has been revoked. So we will always champion their humanity, their right to exist. And if they've made mistakes, I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes. Everybody watching this show has made mistakes. Mistakes do not disqualify you from your humanity.